hope you've enjoyed the sun this past week. I know the last 2 days it's kind of been gone again. But people have been mentioning to me all week how nice it's been. It's true, it's been glorious. I didn't have to wear 10 layers to do a burial this week at Gate of Heaven Cemetery. That was nice. Although I thought that, I was just taking my time, and one of the directors there was kind of giving me the eyeball, like, it's time to move along, Father. I'm going to make you buy a plot here. What pleased me even more, though, is that the sun was shining so nicely at the barbecue we had at St. Elizabeth Seton last weekend to celebrate the end of the Ignite program. Many people stayed, in large part due to the nice weather, and there were parishioners from here as well and St. Francis. Everything was great, other than a parishioner spreading the lie that I cheer for the Toronto Maple Leafs, but all is forgiven. They're on the golf course with my team now anyways. But the real reason I want to highlight this barbecue, among a host of wonderful things that have been going on in our parish, is the kind of unique community it created. There's a lot of good things about us coming together to share fellowship, of course. It's an important thing we do as a church. The scriptures are clear that we share both communion with Christ and with each other. And we're meant to invest in each other's lives. In the book of Acts, chapter 2, verse 42, it says, "And they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to fellowship, to the breaking of bread and to prayer." And again in Hebrews 10, verses 24 to 25, "And let us consider how to stir up one another to love and good works, not neglecting to meet together, as is the habit of some, but encouraging one another." My personal favorite, which I receive as an exhortation to myself, "Show hospitality to one another without grumbling," 1 Peter 4:9. So we want to encourage spending time together in prayer, in worship, in service, and in community, recognizing that time invested in each other is never a waste. This time spent together at that barbecue was intentional, though, in that it allowed our Ignite families to have time to mingle with us. Some of these families are with us every Sunday, which is wonderful. But not all of them are connected to the church, and we had this opportunity to spend time with them. And people have this impression that church people have it all together, or that we think we have it all together, which of course isn't true. Pope Francis has called the church a field hospital for sinners, and that's the truth. If we can get the message out there that we aren't a bunch of perfect people exulting in our own perfection, but a bunch of imperfect people who are trying to grow towards perfection, we would be much more attractive to the unchurched, and these kinds of events are opportunities to do that. It's not that we're trying to project perfectionism, not at all. It's just the perception that some people out there have of us, and so they don't believe that they belong. They don't think that they have a place. And these events, they're a way in the door. It's a way for them to interact with us. It's an opportunity to invite them to take a next step. Maybe to come to Alpha, or to come back to church, or to join a Bible study. And that's really at the heart of what Alpha is anyways. Come together and have a meal, meet some wonderful people, hear who this Jesus is and what he's all about, and in the end there's an invitation to respond to the gospel today, to abide in him, to be connected like a vine to branches. I met someone on the plane recently. He and his family go to church. He's a little bit older than myself. He told me that he goes because he's experienced a place of community. And now he was wondering about the importance of his children taking sacramental preparation. He was honestly seeking answers from a place of connection to the community. By providing a warm community for people to belong to, by introducing them to Jesus, and then by helping them to grow in their faith, we can really facilitate people coming to that deeper place in their faith. But we have to understand that they aren't scary and help them understand that we aren't either. And if you think that's a problem in our own day and age only, it's just not true. Let's look at the first reading again today. We have Saul, former persecutor of the church, having just encountered the risen Lord on the road to Damascus. Saul was connected to the Lord now, but he wasn't yet connected to the church, and the church were afraid of him. But Barnabas did the good work of connecting the church and Paul together. He was the bridge. It takes real people, flesh and blood, you and I, to connect people to the church. And this is the fruit that Jesus wants, that we would become his disciples and grow in holiness, and that we would bear fruit, that we would help people to come to know Jesus and his church, that we would be willing to be a Barnabas for other people. That vine imagery in the gospel, it goes two ways. We absolutely have to be connected to Jesus, because apart from him, we can do nothing. And we're also expected to bear fruit. We need to abide in the Lord, to grow in our relationship with him in many ways, through the sacraments, through time with Scripture and prayer, community with each other. But we also want to bear fruit, and the fruit of a disciple is another disciple. So Jesus issues two challenges to us today in the gospel. The first is this: to abide in him, to look at our relationship with him, to make sure we're connected to him, to recommit ourselves to a time of prayer each day and to the sacraments, so that we can grow in our knowledge and our love of God. And the second challenge is to look around us and see the people in our lives who don't yet have a relationship with Christ, and to invest in them, to speak about Christ to them, to invite them to come and see as Jesus invites us in the Gospels, through events at our parish, through Alpha, through warm experiences of community, to be a Barnabas to those who have no connection to the church. Jesus says to us, "My Father is glorified by this, that you bear much fruit and become my disciples."